Hey guys, welcome back to another lesson with Kuda here as Aviation. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about one of the most basic maneuvers that you'll learn when you're first starting flight training, which is vertical takeoff to a hover and vertical landing from a hover to the ground. So today we're going to be pretending this seat is the pilot seat in the helicopter and using this handy little model that I just got last week to help demonstrate this. So first of all, you'll start off by checking your performance charts, which are basically the charts that the helicopter has that tells you the expected power required for taking off and landing in particular altitude and other conditions. Next, you're going to be checking the wind direction. Preferably, you want to be, you want to know what to expect in terms of the wind hitting the side of the helicopter, the tail, or the nose. You want to make sure that the area is clear next. You're looking around for people perhaps approaching the helicopter or conditions that have changed since you landed the helicopter there last. You want to look for warning lights and horns that might be going off. You want to make sure that your engine gauges are green and operating correctly, making sure that your fuel condition is good, so sufficient fuel. You want to make sure that you're operating, or that you have full operating RPM on the rotors and engine. Next, you will start raising the collective slowly, collective being the flight control in the left hand. You want to have the governor on in the Robinson series of helicopters. Have the flight control or the cyclic in your right hand, hopefully stabilized on your thigh. You will have your anti-torque pedals start depressing your left pedal as you raise the collective. At some point, the helicopter should start moving slightly and becoming light on the landing skids. So there's a little phenomenon called translating tenancy, which is caused by the helicopter thrusting air to the right side of the helicopter, which pushes the tail off to the right, and a side effect of that is it causes the left skid of the helicopter to hang lower than the right skid, and so you'll actually have to accommodate for that with cyclic input, so you don't start drifting sideways. Once you're in a hover, you will check the power required to get an idea of what kind of performance the helicopter has in those real-life conditions. You'll also be taking note of the cyclic position, flight control in your right hand, to get an idea of how strong the wind is that you're flying in. All right. Once you're in a hover, it is preferable to keep the helicopter with its nose pointing into the wind, as it's the most stable way to hover an aircraft. You can hover in other directions, but if you have a wind coming from the tail, it'll tend to spin the helicopter around because it sort of acts like a weather vane, where the tail, like the nose wants to be pointing into the wind, tail downwind. It's the most stable way to have it. All right, next up we have landing from a hovering position. First check, same things that you checked for the takeoff. Gauge is green, warning lights out, all that. You check that the wind, once again, is coming at the nose of the helicopter, preferably. That the landing area is clear, that no one is coming up to you, that nothing has changed in the environment, and that the landing surface is not too rocky, or that if it is, you're prepared for it. Also, another note on the landing surface: if you try to land on sticky or wet surfaces, watch out. So you might actually start sinking in a bit and end up getting too stuck to be able to take off. As you lower the collective, you'll be holding the cyclic steady on your right leg and applying a little bit of right pedal as you start lowering the collective. All right, I think that's about it for the lesson. The standards to which you have to perform this takeoff to a hover is plus or minus 4 feet, and that is within 4 feet of a point on the ground. So 4 feet plus or minus for private pilot certificate, and within plus or minus 2 feet for your commercial pilot certificate. All right, guys, that's all for today. See you next Thursday. Bye.